Hello, everybody. There was a time when I was younger, I want to say like really young adult, like 20-ish, where I would buy like kids' craft kits in an attempt to see how good they actually were. Because like I'm a very like accomplished like visual arty person in general, and if I'm having trouble with the kit, then usually there's something wrong with the kit and not something wrong with me. And that may sound relatively cocky, but I know I am not the intended audience for these things. So if I have a very easy time doing the kit, then usually it's pretty good. Like, you can expect a kid to do it. But if I'm struggling, then it's like, how's a kid supposed to complete this? Anyway, the last time I visited a craft store, which I think was about a month ago, I don't quite remember. And I'm too lazy to get the evidence to make me remember. I bought another kit because it looked like something that I'd be interested in. And this is the kit. Like, that looks super adorable, right? Like, I'd actually... Oh, wait. Sorry, I'm holding the wrong side to you. That looks super adorable, right? It's like I'd seen these advertised online and I was too lazy to order. But then when you see it in like a craft store and you're already buying things anyway, it's like, yeah, why not? And it's like, this looks like something that I would have no problem doing. So we're going to open it up. I see the pieces of Scotch tape, so I know where it intends for me to open up, and we're going to be following intentions here. We're going to see what's inside, if everything is actually included, or if other things are needed. So there's the thread. Oh. Yeah. I don't see why I need glitter here. They gave me a tube of glitter, you see. And we have the little pamphlet that tells me how to do it. And then we have the forms. So the forms are not glued together. Which, if they were glued together, would take out some of the fun. Part of crafts is to take time. I see these, like, what look like stickers here. There's something on the box that said this needed adhesive strips. Where did it say on the box? Yeah, include 76.2 yards of acrylic yarn, 18 pieces of cardboard, 2 Chanel stems, 36 pieces of adhesive, yards, 7.8 yards of cotton thread, 1 piece of acrylic felt, and 0.05 ounces or 1.5 grams of glitter. I'm not sure why the felt is here. I don't see... Oh, I see it now. That's how the unicorn get their ears. Okay. So if I wanted to be stupid, I would attempt to put this together without reading any of the instructions, but we're going to be smart about this. I want to actually have something I'm proud of, you know? I spent money on it. So let's see what this kit says. Assemble the unicorns. This is why we have the adhesive squares. Okay. So legs close together. But for the small unicorn, legs are the same. Middle, legs far apart. Legs are the same. And then there's like optional. Wrap your own tape around the bellies of the unicorn to help keep their feet even when you wrap them with yarn. Okay. Ah. All right. I realize watching me read is not necessarily the most entertaining thing to be watching. Pattern for ears. Okay. And then they have reins for the unicorn. But it's like, does a unicorn really need a bridle? Can a unicorn really be tamed? Oh, finally sprinkle the glitter over your unicorn to give them their magic. For a little kid, that is adorable. As an adult, glitter is craft herpes. I probably won't be doing that particular step. Or maybe I will, who knows? It depends on how much I want to contract craft herpes. Yarn cutting diagram. Oh. It tells you how to cut the yarn. That's good. The instructions here are like relatively decent. So I guess I have to sort these bad boys out. Let's cut it open. Okay. So this is large unicorn, this is small unicorn. I guess I should separate the two pieces. Oh! Okay, there are two different, like, leg bits. Oh, that instruction now makes sense. Because they're saying, like, legs close together, legs the same, and it's like, legs the same does not seem like a good instruction. But it makes more sense now because the larger unicorn is staggered, while the smaller unicorn has their legs in the same position. Okay. Got these bits, those bits, that bit, that bit. Okay. I'm going to start with the large guy. I was concerned that there wasn't going to be like any glue provided. That it's like, oh yeah, use a hot glue gun. Yeah, that's not a little kid thing, but that's not what this did. So it's a good thing I have some nails, because if I didn't have nails, this part would be a lot harder. Okay. Oh, that makes more sense. Okay. So, with the way the instructions are, I was reading it like a typical book. You know, you read this, you go down, you read this, you go down. No, it tells you exactly how to lay the pieces out across like that. You have to disregard this like imposed barrier that's in a typical book. And that the other like instructions have, like the other part of the instructions have. Okay. So I got my unicorn pieces So I need to actually find the order. So they want okay. So it starts with legs close together, then legs close together that way. Okay. I guess I should be like gluing this as I go along, so that way I know that I got it in the right spot. Or I could just lay it out first. Then we got normal horsey, the legs close together. Then the 3 parts of the horse without legs. I don't know why I'm saying horse instead of unicorn, probably because it doesn't have the horn yet. Horses are unicorns that are not horny. I'm kind of disappointed with myself there. There you go. Then the far part, and then lines up like that. And lines up like that. Okay, I feel better knowing that the pieces are as they should be. All right. Let's start gluing. And it tells you how many glue squares to put on, which is nice, and where to put them on. So oh, this is double-sided adhesive. Ah, yeah. Guess we're gonna put that there. I guess I'm supposed to take the white edge off first. Nope, the other side decided to come off here. Okay. Put that there. Now I got that. So I gotta take this off while keeping the adhesive. Come off, little adhesive. You know the adhesive is simultaneously good and bad. Like the adhesive is good at its job when it refuses to take the paper it's supposed to protect it off. There you go. That. And we line it up like this. We just press. Ooh. But not too hard because we don't want to like crush the corrugated cardboard. All right. So that's the first part of the unicorn. I'm going to check back in when I have finished gluing the rest of it together. See you in a moment. Okay, so I'm not entirely done with this part of the craft yet, but I have commentary. So I turned the video back on. Oh, there we go. So the adhesive squares, I mean, they're doing their job. They're sticking. But they're not the most kid-friendly aspect of this craft. It's not very kid-friendly. This has an age limit, right? Yeah, 8+. Okay. So if you got like a coordinated 8-year-old, they could easily do this. But I've noticed like during my years of these like kids crafts, that a big theme is trying to make the kids craft as like, there's like this theme of making kids crafts with as little mess as possible. Kind of like you're not going to give them a kit and then suddenly find a rainbow explosion on your kitchen wall type of thing. But you can see with this thing here, this presents a different type of challenge. You know, it's just the constant, let me try to open this up without, kind of like that, and not ruin the adhesive square, you know? And I'm like working through it, but I'm struggling. And I'm a very, very coordinated person who's using her natural nails. Now, if you're an 8-year-old, you might not necessarily have the dexterity to put the glue squares on yourself. And so trying to like hold something this small and then go like this could, like, an 8-year-old might not be able to do that. 13-year-old, absolutely. 8-year-old, not so much. I remember back when I taught basketry, like, people who were, like, weaving the reeds, like, if I got an 11-year-old, they would struggle immensely. And just those 2 years between 11-year-old and 13-year-old made it so much easier for the 13-year-old to weave a basket because they got, like, that general dexterity. And I feel like that level of dexterity is required here. So if a little kid can't do that part, it could be handed off to the parent. And, I mean, we're making assumptions here that it's the female caregiver who is helping them out, although that's not necessarily the case. But if it is the female caregiver who, for her own purposes, has long acrylic nails, she's not going to be able to do that either, because you don't use long acrylic nails as tools. And the kit doesn't provide anything to help you take off the acrylic squares. So if that was the case, I would just say screw it and get out the tacky glue or the Elmer's glue and just glue the horse together, and it would work just as well. You would just have a longer drying time. I mean, the benefit of these adhesive squares is that you can literally just start wrapping the horse without, like, what's it called? You could start wrapping the horse without waiting for the glue to dry, which if you got an impatient kid could be a big factor. But it would work just as well, honestly, and it might work even better. There's, like, lots of kids' crafts. It's like, hey, let's sell you this magic crayon that works like a crayon, except only on this particular paper. And if you have the paper, it won't get on anything else, which, I mean, I've never been responsible for a little human for that long period of time, so maybe I would think differently about it. Although I do remember, like, having an acrylic paint project with my cousin when she was 2 years old, and we ended up ruining some paintbrushes because she got bored and I didn't have enough time to clean up. But, that cousin's in college now. But even so, it's like, you either have to keep on buying the paper or you're stuck with plastic trash. That's my little rant about kids' crafts in general, like certain trends I've seen. But I'm going to keep working on this in the Untitled method, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so the horsies are taped together. Well, kind of planned ahead there. You can see I kind of taped them around as suggested. The diagram showed masking tape, but it didn't say what type of tape specifically, so I just went with the type of tape that I had nearby, and that most people probably have nearby, which is Scotch tape. Got both little horsies here, which tape's kind of coming off there. And the next step is to start wrapping yarn. And they have this very helpful note that says, if View the yarn cutting diagram on page 11 before completing steps 8 through 21. If you do not cut the skeins as directed, you may not have enough yarn to wrap the unicorns. Which honestly sounds freaking obvious. But when it comes to crafting, there is no such thing as obvious. So I cut the yarn as directed. It said measure by the inch, but instead of I only measured like one of the strands of yarn and then used that strand of yarn to measure the other strands of yarn, because why measure multiple times? It means it may not be exact, but it says pick one color. It went with orange. We will also go with orange. And oh, okay. So it looks like I went the opposite direction as the people who made this, of which leg was on which side, but so it says pick one color and double knot it at the bottom of the leg. This is how the legs stay tied together. Then it says wrap the bottom of the leg to make a hoof. I guess we don't want to do this too tight because, I mean, it's like corrugated cardboard. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And I guess we want it to be like somewhat loose. It looks like I kind of want to have it down and then maybe wrap around the bottom, or do I wrap it around it twice? We're going to find out. All right. Have it on the table. Now it's time to wrap the leg. Yeah, it wants me to wrap it around like multiple times, I'm guessing. So when it's 1/2 inch, and then that was too much yarn. Now it wants me to use in one of those adhesive squares. Which one was that? I had one. Did it fall down? No, that's just a scrap. Something that was a square centimeter disappeared on me. Or I'm assuming it's a square centimeter. Okay. Anyway, that's why we have more. And it's interesting, like, the way the directions talk about this. It's like, do the large unicorn, then do the small unicorn, do the large unicorn, small, large, small. And it's like, personally, that is how I would do it. But that only works if you've got, like, one kid who's going to have both unicorns. Pull this off. Like, if you buy this to make with 2 kids, you might have an argument about who gets the bigger one and who gets the smaller one. Unless you got some sort of hierarchy where the smaller kid always gets the smaller object. In which case, it's not easy being the youngest. When Dad hears that thing, he's going to laugh. When Mom hears that, she's going to groan. Okay. So it sticks. It sticks. Definitely takes up more space than what it says, and it's kind of loose. Whatever. So now I gotta do the rest and possibly trim that off, because I'm not gonna have that hanging around. That's sloppy. Oh, here it is. So it also has its buddy be the yellow. Ha ha ha. And we double knot the yellow. It says stop when hoof is 1/2 inch. Is this... The horse itself doesn't seem like 1/2 inch. Is it? Yeah, that's what's going on. I did go a little bit over 1/2 inch with that, but the horse's hoof is more like let's see. is somewhere between 1/4 to 3/8 an inch. If we're being persnickety about this. I mean, this is definitely a craft where a younger kid could probably do this, but they need help. They need serious, serious help. I'm gonna wrap this again. I guess the cardboard is poking out. These are gonna be open-toed hooves. Totally not safe on a warehouse floor, but perfect for the beach. Okay, and we open up the little square again. Unicorns are at home either on a beach or in a warehouse. They're home anywhere they choose to be because they can't be tamed. Unicorns are wild, wild animals. They pretend to be sweet, but they can gore you to death. Okay, it's... There we go. There are the hooves. I'm gonna wrap the big horsey and then go on to the small horsey, and then we'll go on to the next step. And hopefully this will be more secure than it currently is. I mean, look at this. It's like slipping off, but I either get like the cardboard sticking out or I get the yarn slipping off. And in that scenario, cardboard sticking out is preferable because at least it prevents the yarn from sticking off. Yarn sticking off means if I try to rewrap it around this way, it'd be more difficult, especially since I suspect the next step is covering this with the white yarn. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is like, huh. Oh. That will probably end up needing me to read the instructions a little bit more fully, a little bit more carefully. Anyway, I'll be back. Okay, so I just realized that I cut the wrong color yarn. Which is totally my fault. It told me to cut blue, pink, orange, and yellow. But instead of cutting orange, I cut purple. So, we're just going to roll with it. We're going to see how it goes. That's just how this is going to go. Okay, it has been one Weird Al's Dare to Be Stupid later, and I have wrapped the legs of both unicorns. And, besides the fact that the hooves are coming loose and also, like, showing themselves, which, rude. It's strange, it was telling me to, like, do 4 yards to wrap the legs. It only took me 2 yards. It literally, to wrap the legs, it took me half the amount of yarn it took me to. Although I did make a mistake and I forgot to go all the way up the back thighs. So I had to cut more yarn to deal with that. But the amount of yarn that I cut and did not even bother to measure is nowhere near the amount of yarn that I didn't need to use. So either I'm wrapping this tighter than they're expecting me to, or they're expecting me to go over it twice, but I don't think so. The instructions would say, like, go over it twice, and I'm putting the adhesive where it tells me to put it. But yeah, I'm only using like a little over half the yarn they're telling me to use. So that little mishap with the purple yarn probably not going to amount to anything. Also, when I made like the little unicorn or the little horsey, they only had me put like 1 square as opposed to 2 squares on this guy. So this guy is like a little bit more loose, which will probably be fixed up once I start wrapping the body, you know, and then get everything up. Like, corset up the unicorn. It's like the Scotch tape isn't really doing anything, but also like if I take it off, it starts ripping the cardboard. So that was not the best idea. Yeah. That's how this is going so far. And I mean, part of the yarn's poking out, but there's parts where it told me to like double knot it when I'd finished wrapping, and that's kind of hard to do the double knots. So I've got some knots here that I just might end up putting my own glue on to make sure it doesn't come off, because if it came apart, that would suck terribly. Yeah, that's how this is going. We're going to attempt the body now. Maybe I'll find a Megan Thee Stallion song while I'm doing this. Who knows? Be back in a moment. Alright, so I have wrapped the unicorns, which means I've gotten the bulk of this done. The rest of it is just gonna like add the hair. And I'm giving myself a solid B for effort here. Yeah, the neck is like the first time where it actually used the amount of yarn it said it was, and it told me to do it in yards. And it says that you have to provide your own ruler, and I used like a regular 12-inch ruler, which means I had to do 3 times the measuring, because 1 foot is 1/3 of a yard. Yeah, it was fun doing one piece of yarn 33 times. Yeah, okay, but the big guy doesn't like to stand straight. It's like leaning over to the side here, and like the hooves aren't wanting to stay on. They're showing like the little open-toed thing here. But the little guy seems to be doing a little bit better now, although I'm still worried about the head. I ended up using enough adhesive to have like 3 pieces left, which honestly would have been 2 if I hadn't used that 1 piece. And also, like, for the large guy that I have off the screen right here, yeah. It told me to put 6 pieces on. I only put on 4, and I saw why I was supposed to put on 6, but at that point I didn't really care. It wasn't like a unicorn ruining mistake, you know. I hope I don't have to use those again for the rest, although it's telling me to like thread string through the next parts without a needle. There's no needle in the kit yeah, there's no needle. That's gonna be fun to figure out. Anyway, I'll be back. We'll see how the adding the tail and the hair is gonna go. Which, honestly, compared to, like, wrapping the unicorn, I don't expect it to be that hard. We're just going to knock on my wood desk in case I jinx myself there. Alright. As you can probably tell from the lighting and my outfit, it's a different day than when I worked on the unicorns. Because I'm a human who has to do other things to survive. But, I've added a little fluffy tail to both of the unicorns. Well, they're technically still horses right now. And since the last time I was working on this, I had to declaw myself, because the nails were getting too long. So it was actually harder to like put the yarn through. It wanted me to like put the yarn through here to like tie underneath, and then it told me to tie a knot to hold it here, which, I mean, with the way that I did a double knot here, it kind of sticks out, you know, especially since where the picture has it is right where they told me to put the adhesive. So, it now wants me to put in the main, and the instructions say, thread 2 pieces at a time under the wrap yarn on the back of the head of the main, pull them halfway through, no knots needed. That's a lot of trust for no knots if you're gonna... And then the next is just unwinding it all, like expecting just the unwinding to hold the yarn there. It's like we're not going to get too rough with these unicorns, you know? Anyway, here's the little guy. And when it came to unwinding it, I just... In order to thread it through, I ended up taking a crochet hook that I already had and, like, pulling it through. In order to, like, pull it apart, I ended up using the needle to, like, split the thread, so it was easier for me to, like, grasp at it instead of, like, trying to fiddle at the end and then perhaps, like, unwinding the wrong part of the unicorn. Anyway, I'm going to start the long process of threading the main through and seeing how that goes. Check back in a bit. Okay, that no knot idea, it got nixed really quickly. I put the thread underneath and I just did not like how it was sliding around. It just felt too not secure. So I didn't necessarily do a double knot like they were suggesting. I'm kind of doing more like one of those slip things where you kind of just slip it through like a latch hook, you know? I'm using a crochet hook to thread it through that way, and it may make the yarn stand up on edge, but I mean, it's cheap yarn anyway. I already know it's cheap yarn because there's like some serious kinks in the yarn from where it was folded after it was like sitting in the box for however long it was. I kind of doubted that I was going to have enough. I assume this is like the last thing I need the yarn for. And I kind of just like cut it a little bit at a time. So I cut like 2 inches for the large unicorn's mane. Well, not 2 inches. Like 2 pieces for the large unicorn's mane and then 2 pieces for the small unicorn's mane. And that way each unicorn would have like the same amount. Not that having issues with yarn is a new thing for me. It seemed like it was going to be coming very close to a game of Yarn Chicken, and in some of the cases, it's a game that I barely won. Yeah, I still remember a time back when I was like in the Girl Scouts, and Mom was my troop leader, and she passed around like this spool of yarn, and she went like, here, cut off how much yarn that you think you'll need. So she passed around the spool and the scissors, and some people are cutting off like 1 inch or 2 inches. And I was like, well, you need at least like 6 inches or to a foot to actually do something decent with a piece of yarn. So I cut off a sizable amount, and then Mom followed that up with, look at the amount of yarn that you cut off. That is how far you are from God. That is like the distance between you and your relationship with God. And it's like, here I am thinking of this from a purely practical standpoint. And they're turning it to a symbolic thing. You hand any crafter like an amount of yarn, and in order to do anything with it in that environment, you needed a sizable piece. And anyway, that meditation was lost on me. Which I guess it's a lesson about letting go, which is a lesson that I'm still learning how to handle very, very much. Anyway, I'm thinking about making it like a Roy G. Bivish unicorn. So that way it's like all the lovely colors. Like, I'm kind of spiraling about a couple other things in my life right now. But I'm trying to use this to calm down. Kind of working. Need a little bit more Paul Simon for it to make sense. But yeah, I'm going to continue putting on this my way. I've kind of just, I mean, the point was to kind of follow the instructions as they are, but if I'm being honest with myself, usually when I do a kit like this, I disregard the instructions at some point anyway. So I guess this is that moment. But yeah, I'm going to have a nice little rainbow. I'm going to do the same thing to the buddies so they match, even though I didn't match these. The whole point about unicorns is they're supposed to be unique, and now I'm having them be matchy-matchy. I guess they're not unique if they match. But I kind of want them to match. We'll figure this out. Yeah, I'm going to go back to doing this. All right, I am back. It is much later in the day because I had to sleep. But my hair is not quite cooperating at the moment. But then again, neither is the unicorns. Look at that. I got a little punk rocker here. Kind of adorable. I did figure out my Roy G. Biv thing. I've made it so that they both follow Roy G. Biv, but one goes in one direction and one goes in the other direction. I can kind of see why they said no knots now, because create this little thing, but in all honesty, I don't really care. I can just go like this and still kind of hide them. It adds a little charm, you know? And honestly, if I just have it go up, create a little mohawk like this, it'll make it easier for the next step, which is attaching the ears. Now, they want me to attach the ears with the little adhesive squares, which, there they are. So I had 3 left. I thought I had enough, but it turns out I need the adhesive squares for this, and so I would have had 4 if I hadn't used an extra one. But no worries, I'm just going to cut one of them in half, and that's how we're going to get the 4. But if I had followed their instructions of using 6, where I only used 4 when it came to like attaching the yarn to the muzzle or whatnot, I wouldn't have had any. Which means they did not provide enough of these. And I didn't waste any of them. I used all of them. I haven't had to throw any away because I couldn't, because I messed one up. Which I'm certain is something that would happen to someone who's less experienced than I am. Anyway, they included a nice little piece of felt in here to make the ears from. And there's a little pattern in the book that tells me to trace the ears. So I'm kind of hoping the felt is thin enough that I can kind of just trace it without cutting open the book, because I feel too lazy to do that right now. Ooh. And there we have our little pipe cleaner for when it's time to turn these horses into a unicorn. Yeah, I'm in luck. I'm in luck, baby. Look at that. It goes right on through. And I got a pair of scissors right here, but they are paper scissors and not fabric scissors. So how well they're going to cut? I mean, I know I could go find my fabric scissors somewhere, but most people probably won't have that distinction. Anyway, we are in the home stretch here of the unicorn. This is they are largely in their final form. We're literally just doing finishing touches here. So we're gonna do the ears and then find out what's next, which is yeah, literally like 2 steps left, and I only plan on doing one of them. Be back in a moment. Okay, I figured you guys would actually want to see this part. This is when the horses become a unicorn, or more accurately, a horny horse. So it had me wrap a chenille, like one of the pipe cleaners, into a horn around the tip of a pencil. They provided me with 2, but I was able to do both with 1, which means I will now have something to make a bubble wand for the leftover bubble solution I have. So now we just gotta shove this in there and woo! now we got a horny horse. It's time for the big guy here. Just shove that in. I guess we can't shove it in between the cardboard. We gotta shove it under the yarn on top of the cardboard. Oh, nope. There we go. Those are the unicorns. Now, they want me to do 2 additional steps, which I am not going to be doing here. The first one is they want me to use the cotton thread that they provided to make reins for the unicorns, and I kind of understand why they're telling us to make reins, because you can see the face of the unicorn is still a little bit undefined, and the rein gives like something to break up that space. But on principle, unicorns are wild animals. It's not like you're gonna go get a unicorn and like start riding it. Like all these stories that you read about unicorns mention how you can't ride the unicorn because they're wild animals and they won't let you touch them unless you're a virgin or some like nonsense like that. And so, I mean, they got horns for a reason. The horns are weapons. They're not going to just let anyone like ride a unicorn. The other thing they want me to do, which if I was a 10-year-old girl, amazing. But as a 28-year-old woman, I want to protect myself from craft herpes, is that they want me to sprinkle glitter on the unicorn to give them their magic. It's like, look at that punk rocker hair. That's magical without the glitter. Seriously. So these are my unicorns. So there are kits that you make that's like, they're like a kickoff starting point for doing the craft, and you are left with materials that will allow you to continue doing the craft. And then there are other kits that's like, okay, this was a nice exercise and this craft was worth it, and but this probably isn't going to make me do anything more like this. And this kit, I feel, falls in that second category. There's a third category where it's like, this craft was horrible and I never do it again. And honestly, this craft doesn't fall there. Like, I would attempt this again. I kind of got a sense of how I could do it again. I would have to like design the cardboard forms myself, and I would have to, like, it's a good introductory craft. My biggest complaint, which is probably going to be no surprise to you, is the method of glue that they decided to use. Just get a bottle of Elmer's glue. Don't deal with these stupid adhesive strips. I mean, do they work? Yes, but if you are a 10-year-old kid or you're an adult human who's wearing fake acrylic nails, you will have trouble with adhesive strips, and a bottle of glue is a much better idea. Either that or get the adult human who doesn't have the acrylic nails to do that part for you. When it comes to materials, they provided more than enough. With the exception of the adhesive squares, they provided more than enough for all the yarn wrapping I need to do. I mean, the yarn is cheap, so you don't have to worry about destroying it too much. And honestly, because it's like fake acrylic yarn, if you like do mess up or run out, it's something that I can easily buy very cheaply. Yeah, something that is on like the bottom of like the pages in the book, which was not the case when I was younger, was the website of the company. So it's like, watch here for like instructional videos. Which honestly is a very smart idea. I haven't gone and watched the instructional videos because I typically don't do crafts by watching videos. I do read the books, but like, especially like, most people coming to this craft are not me. You know, most people aren't like a 28-year-old woman who's has like over 2 decades of experience doing things like this. Most of them are little kids doing it for the first time and creating that experience so they can become the 28-year-old woman who does things like this. So since for me, I accomplished the unicorns with like relative like agility, I would say I would feel comfortable giving this to a 13-year-old kid to do by themselves. But if you're giving this to an 8-year-old, which is like what the box suggests, get an adult. They're not going to have the coordination to do this by themselves just yet, unless you taught them how to sew when they were 5. Which was the case 100 years ago, was something people did 100 years ago, not so much nowadays. But I mean, you look at the picture, you look at what I did, pretty close. I would give this a solid B out of like the A to F grading system. Anyway, that long-winded review was today's entertainment. Have a nice day.